I never thought my birthday would end with the HOA president in handcuffs on my front porch, her clipboard face down on the concrete like a fallen badge. All because I didn't invite her to my party. That night didn't just ruin a celebration, it exposed how fake authority collapses the moment it meets real consequences. I moved into Maple Grove Estates because I wanted quiet. Not luxury, not prestige, just a place where I could come home, shut the door, and breathe. The houses were close together, lawns trimmed within an inch of their lives, mailboxes aligned like soldiers. It felt stiff but manageable. I told myself, follow the rules, keep your head down, and life will be simple. For the first 6 months, that's exactly what I did. I waved politely, kept my lawn neat, parked exactly where the curb markings said I could, and avoided HOA meetings like they were contagious. That's how I first noticed her. Linda Parker, HOA president. Clipboard always tucked under her arm, pen clipped like a weapon. She didn't walk so much as patrol. Every conversation she had sounded like a warning. Every smile felt rehearsed. At meetings, she didn't ask questions, she issued statements. Fines weren't discussed, they were announced. People tried to reason with her once or twice, but she shut them down fast. She fined a guy for grass blades leaning unevenly. She cited a woman for leaving her trash can out too long because it disrupted visual harmony. Someone joked about it once and Linda stared them down like humor was a violation too. I stayed invisible. I figured if I didn't react, didn't challenge her, she'd eventually lose interest. Turns out ignoring someone like Linda doesn't calm them down, it irritates them. Silence doesn't read as peace to people like that. It reads as defiance. Within weeks, I started getting notices. Parking too close to my own curb, washing my car on a Tuesday, not displaying enough community enthusiasm. I wish that last one was a joke. I appealed everything. I paid nothing. I documented quietly. Dates, photos, emails, timestamps. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue in person. I just kept records. That seemed to bother her more than anything else. Neighbors started warning me in hushed tones. Be careful with Linda. She drove the last guy out. Once she targets you, she doesn't stop. I listened. I nodded. And I stayed. I wasn't planning revenge. I was learning leverage. Power trips don't collapse under noise. They collapse under weight. And Linda was carrying plenty of it. Then my birthday came up. For the first time since moving in, I wanted to do something normal. Nothing wild. Just a small birthday get-together. A few coworkers, a couple neighbors who smiled instead of scowled, some family. Low music. Doors closed, no blocked driveways, no chaos. I planned it carefully because honestly, I was tired of living like every personal moment needed HOA approval. Still against my better judgment, I emailed the HOA. Not because I had to, I didn't, but because I wanted a paper trail. Proof that I tried to act in good faith. Linda responded within an hour. She called me directly. Her voice was sweet in that fake professional way that never reaches the eyes. She said hosting a party required a $2,000 unknown guest exposure fee because unfamiliar faces could destabilize community harmony. Then she added a mandatory $1,500 HOA presence declaration fee, explaining that as president, she would need to attend to monitor compliance. And then, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world, she said she'd need 10 minutes during my party to deliver a community wellness speech. I remember staring at my phone blinking, wondering if I misheard her. It didn't sound like HOA policy. It sounded like extortion with extra steps. She spoke with absolute confidence, like these rules already existed somewhere, and I was foolish for not knowing them. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I thanked her for the information and ended the call. That was the moment I decided Linda Parker would not be part of my birthday in any capacity. I didn't cancel the party. I didn't pay her. I didn't ask for permission again. I invited the people I wanted. I kept everything respectful. Deep down, I knew she wouldn't let it slide. Linda never missed a chance to insert herself where she wasn't wanted. Still, a small part of me hoped logic would win, that she'd choose paperwork over confrontation, that maybe just once she'd let something go. The day of my birthday felt strangely peaceful. Guests arrived slowly. Laughter filled the house, soft and human, not echoing through walls. Neighbors I barely knew showed up with snacks and awkward smiles like they were testing whether it was safe to be normal again. The music stayed low, windows closed. Everything was exactly the opposite of what Linda expected. For a few hours, Maple Grove Estates felt like a place people actually lived, not just complied. Then came the knock. Not a polite knock. A violent bang that rattled the door. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Another knock followed, louder, sharper, full of intention. I didn't need the peephole to know who it was. Linda announced herself anyway, shouting about violations, authority, and consequences like she was reciting scripture. I cracked the door open just enough to see her red-faced clipboard clenched tight. She accused me of hosting an illegal gathering, demanded immediate payment of fines, ordered me to shut everything down. I tried to explain calmly that it was a small birthday party well within legal limits. She wasn't listening. She never listened. She screamed that she'd call the police if I didn't comply immediately. I closed the door. That single action sent her into orbit. The banging intensified, insults followed, threats spilled freely. I could see my guests' shifting uncomfortably, eyes darting toward the door. For a second, doubt crept in. I wondered if I'd pushed too far, if it was worth turning my birthday into a battlefield, if maybe I should just end it, apologize, give her what she wanted. I felt tired, really tired, tired of documenting, tired of standing my ground quietly, tired of being targeted for existing. But then something clicked. I realized this wasn't about noise, or rules, or community. This was about control. And if I backed down now, it wouldn't stop. It would just teach her that intimidation worked. I reassured my guests, turned the music slightly higher, and we kept celebrating. The sound drowned her out. Eventually, the pounding stopped. We thought she'd left. Minutes later, the knocking returned. Heavier, different, authoritative. I opened the door to find 2 police officers standing there. Linda hovered behind them, wearing the most satisfied smile I'd ever seen. She claimed disorderly conduct, noise violations, threats. Inside the room was calm, no shouting, no chaos. The officers looked around, exchanged glances. One of them started asking questions. Then a loud crash echoed from outside. One officer stepped onto the porch and froze. Linda was mid-rage, kicking over planters, ripping decorations down, yelling about evidence and property seizure. The second officer followed, disbelief written all over his face. Inside, my guests stood stunned. Outside, Linda kept unraveling, completely unaware she was no longer directing the scene. The body cameras caught everything. Her screaming, her admitting she called the police to teach me a lesson, her pointing at me, demanding they arrest me instead. I handed over emails, messages, documentation. She interrupted constantly, contradicting herself, insisting her clipboard gave her immunity. When one officer informed her she'd filed a false police report, something in her snapped. The confidence drained out of her face, replaced by pure rage. She lunged forward, still shouting about HOA authority. They arrested her right there. Neighbors gathered, phones raised. Whispers turned into open disbelief. Linda screamed that the neighborhood would fall apart without her, that she was the only thing holding it together. No one stepped forward to defend her. At court, the footage did all the talking. The judge didn't laugh, didn't lecture, just sentenced. 12 months in county jail, 8 to serve, $18,000 in restitution, a permanent no-contact order with me. Her HOA authority revoked immediately. The story ended right there for me. Not with applause, not with celebration. Just the quiet understanding that power built on intimidation always collapses under the weight of truth. Fake authority only works until someone refuses to kneel.